This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today I'm actually in Sydney at the moment. I'm up in Sydney on my master prac for my course, and through the coaching room for those of you that are interested, and on my USB microphone. So maybe it sounds a little different than usual. Either way, not in the studio. But today I want to extend on this idea. So I just finished in the Coaches Circle, which is a mentoring group that I have for PTs and gym owners and coaches and athletes. And we talked about, in our weekly webinar there, we talked about this, pulled apart this idea of anxiety effectively, and how we do anxiety, we don't have anxiety. Now, this is a subject that I probably started to really understand a little while ago, but I avoided having from like a confrontational point of view, or maybe trusting myself to truly understand how to describe what I was getting at, and understanding myself more and more, and sort of realizing that it is a conversation that I think is worth having continually with people, and let people make their own mind up whether they think they have anxiety or they do anxiety. The thing that people often don't realize is saying like I have anxiety is the same as saying I have happiness. It's like, yep, we all have happiness. We all have anxiousness within us as well. We have those capabilities. We're on the spectrum of all of that sort of stuff. But the difficulty is that we don't necessarily have anxiety. We do anxiety. It's something that we do, and a lot of people do it really, really, really well. And this is a thing that's really important to understand, is that we can't be anxious and present at the same time. We're anxious about something in the future. We can't be anxious about the past or the present moment. We're anxious about the future. You know, this is when somebody goes to you, I want to have a conversation with you. And straight away you're like, fuck, what have I done? And so you start to get anxious about all these things that are potentials. And then you get anxious about those thoughts. And then you get anxious about those thoughts. And you get anxious about your anxiousness, right? And nothing's actually occurred. And they're like, hey, what was that book that you recommended? And just that anxiousness just dissipates. It just leaves. But in that moment, nothing actually occurred. Right? You weren't responding to reality. You were getting anxious about your thoughts of a potential reality. And this is a certain level of learning you probably learned not to trust yourself somewhere along the lines. And this is quite really fascinating. But the thing is that you're doing that. You're doing that through a thinking, feeling response about a potential future. And once again, that you're no longer trusting yourself with. So it's not about necessarily like, for a lot of people, the idea of being absence of of anxiousness is not really what I'm leading to here. Somebody might listen to this and be like, I've had people in the past be like, no, you can be absence of that. And it's just like, well, if you want to, then whatever. You know, anxiousness is often just pointing towards our potential. We wouldn't get anxious about something we didn't care about, right? We get anxious about things that have meaning and purpose to us, you know. And this is why, if you look back, and I use the example of talking to somebody that you're interested in, whether it be of the opposite sex or the same sex, and somebody who fits that same gender, but you're not interested in, and you're not anxious talking to them, right? But you're maybe anxious talking to somebody who you are interested in. It's like you care what one person thinks, but maybe you don't care what the other person thinks. And maybe the interest is more so from a professor point of view, like you want them to think highly of you, but you don't care what your peers think of you, right? Either way, it's interesting how what we're doing is that we're showing that this anxiousness is a normal human response to something that we care about. And in reality, more often than not, what it's doing is pointing towards your potential. And so one of the difficult things that we do with anxiety or anxiousness is that we actually start to label it a negative emotion. It's like anxiousness is not like, it's not a negative emotion, it's an emotion, right? In fact, it's often telling you something that's really important for the happiness of your life. It's the same as sadness and all the rest of that sort of stuff. They go, it feels uncomfortable, but here's the thing: is that we're taught that we should get rid of negative people. That if you have a negative bank account balance, it's pretty bad. Like there's a continual degrading of the word, well, negative, but more so what associations we have with the word negative, such as simply what we call our emotions, right? So negative emotions. It's like, okay, hang on a second. If we're told that we shouldn't have these negative things in our life to have a better life, and then we label our emotions negative, then we teach ourselves to suppress these emotions and never understand them, right? Or that if we have them, that we're negative and that we're bad and that we're broken. It's like, no, you're not bad or broken. You work perfectly fine the way you fucking wired yourself. You probably just did it when you were young and not aware of what exactly you were doing. And it was probably a response and it probably had a positive intention. And then now we just need to learn and become aware of it. And when we become aware of it, we can become clunky and become the student again and learn a new pattern that may be more resourceful for you. Because if you learnt that when you were 10 and you're 30 now, well, 10-year-old you doesn't know better than 30-year-old you. But the issue is that pattern, that doing of the anxiousness is so embedded, right? It's the same thing when somebody sees like Christmas decorations for the first time. Someone's like, gets so fucking happy. They've trained themselves to be happy because of the meaning they have to Christmas and what that means. Somebody else gets really friggin' sad. Somebody else gets really friggin' anxious. Somebody else doesn't feel anything. Somebody gets angry. Everyone has a different response, but nothing's actually fucking happened. Nothing's occurred in reality. Nothing's changed. But what we're doing is we're teaching ourselves to attach meaning to things, and this is normal. And then we, whether we realize it or not, attached this like metastating, is that what it's called actually, to this particular external event. And I grew up for example, I stopped having Christmas dinner with my family when I was 17. I might have even been 18. I just got over it. I got over the bickering because my family was split. So for a long time, when I saw Christmas, I was like, fuck, I couldn't be bothered with Christmas. Like, that was literally the response that I had taught myself to deal with Christmas, right? So this is the thing about, if I then associated Christmas to being negative, Christmas is just a time of year. That's it. Everyone has a different meaning to it. And so what I learned over time was to start attaching a different meaning to Christmas. And I started to enjoy it more. And I started to then want to be around people. And people wanted to be around me. And I actually got most out of that time of year. And that was a really interesting lesson for me. But the Christmas is just the fucking metaphor. That's just the example. We do this with everything. Mundane things. A door slamming, right? A car pulling up. Somebody's name calling on the phone and you see it and you get a response to it. It is a trained response. And we have to learn to take responsibility for it, understand it, and then ask ourselves a powerful question: do we want to change it? Because if we don't want to change it, if we're not ready to, then we won't change it. And then we'll be shitty at ourselves and get anxious at ourselves and sad at ourselves and self-loathing at ourselves for not changing the thing we don't want to change that we think we should change because it's negative. Now I'm a negative person. And you start to see how we can work ourselves up into this pattern that we're doing, right? And this is the other reason. I'm going to probably finish it on this. It's like people that go, I have anxiety, may not be aware and take this as, I know this is probably a sensitive topic for people, but fucking take it however you want to take it. I can't control that, right? And I'm trying to fit in a very complex topic in 10 minutes. Obviously, bear with me as best you can. But people that go, I have anxiety, don't realize that really what they're embedding is, anxiety has me, right? Not I have anxiety. Anxiety has me, right? I have happiness. Happiness has me. It almost goes back to Carl Jung's idea of, do ideas have people or do people have ideas? Or other way around, right? Sorry, he invited it as, do people have ideas or do ideas have people? And I can assure you there are people out there that ideas have full control of, right? And some of those ideas led to a lot of deaths. You get my point. So in a circumstance, how much life are we missing out because we think that we have things that we're actually doing. And when we do it, it becomes an action and behavior that we can change, not because it's bad, but because it no longer serves a purpose or is resourceful. And it also doesn't get rid of anxiousness. It sees the power of anxiousness. It sees the power of what it's pointing to and the lessons that it's teaching us, not to get rid of it, but to feel it. Because if you're not prepared to feel the side of emotions that society calls negative, then good fucking luck trying to feel the side of emotions that people call positive, right? You can't reject sadness and accept happiness. You got to either have it all or nothing. That's how it works. Team, thank you very much for tuning in. If you found this podcast beneficial, then it mean the world to me if you would pass it on to someone that you think would also find this topic of anxiety beneficial. Now, if you are a PT and a coach or a trainer or an athlete and you want to learn more about the Coaches Circle, go to davenixon.com.au/memberships. You'll find it on my website. Find out, and we're more than happy to have a chat and see if it's the right thing. Otherwise, jump on Facebook, type in Mood Prep online, you'll pop up. And I've got a video June there this week. I've been extremely busy, and you guys will be all kept up to speed with what's going on in the back end. But either way, that's it. I'm done. Thank you very much for tuning in. Until tomorrow. Peace and pizza. Kick today in the dick. Slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.